Hello, friends. Around 70% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed to the channel. If you hit that subscribe button, it would mean a lot to me. Also, don't forget to press the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your interaction helps the video reach more people and supports the growth of the channel. Thank you so much. By the way, where are you watching from? Let me know your city or country in the comments. Have you ever wondered if you're ever thinking about going on a cruise? Make sure you hear this story first, because you might not come back just like I barely did. I'll never go on a cruise again. A true horror story sent by Jake from Italy. My name is Jake. I'm 34 years old. I live in Oregon, and last year I decided to take my first ever cruise. I wasn't going through anything dramatic. No heartbreak. No trauma. I just wanted a break. A week off from work. No calls. No emails. Just peace. Just the ocean. It was a 7-day cruise from Miami to the Caribbean. Everything looked perfect. The ship was massive, luxurious, and honestly, kind of overwhelming. I had a small solo room on deck 5. Basic, but comfortable. I liked it. The first 2 days were fine. Sunsets, cocktails, music, and that gentle rocking of the ocean that makes you sleep like a baby. I was starting to think I could do this every year. But then, something changed on the third night. Night 3, the hallway. I woke up around 3:40 a.m. to go to the bathroom. It was dead silent, which, on a ship that size, felt unnatural. On my way back to bed, I thought I heard something. A soft, dull knock. Not on my door, just somewhere. I opened the cabin door and peeked into the hallway. It was empty. Lights were dimmed. Carpet stretched in both directions. I was about to close the door when I saw it. At the far end of the hallway, someone standing perfectly still, facing the wall. I stared for maybe 3 seconds and then blinked. Gone. No sound. No footsteps. Nothing. Day 4. Things start feeling off. The next day, I couldn't focus. The ship was still lively. People drinking, laughing, kids running around. But for me, something felt off. I went to grab lunch. Took the elevator down. When the doors opened at deck 3, it was pitch black. I pressed the button again. Door shut. I figured it was some maintenance issue. That night, I returned to my room and found the door slightly open. I was sure I locked it. Lights inside were off. I stepped in slowly. My suitcase was zipped, my things untouched. But the pillow on the bed was wet, damp, like someone had just laid there after being in water. Night 4, the cold room. It got worse. I woke up shivering. I'm not exaggerating. It felt like I was in a freezer. I checked the AC, turned it off. Still freezing. Then I heard the same knock again. This time closer. 4 soft knocks, not on the door, but on the wall behind my bed. I pressed my ear against it. Silence. I knocked back once. Nothing. 10 seconds later, 4 knocks again. Same rhythm, same spot, but louder. I didn't sleep that night. Day 5 missing. I spoke to one of the crew members the next day. Just casual. I mentioned a weird night. Strange noises. He gave me this weird look. Like I had said something I shouldn't have. Then he said, "Don't stay alone in your room too much. Some cabins carry energy." What the hell does that mean? Later that day, I found out the guy staying 2 rooms down from me hadn't been seen since the night before. They said maybe he got drunk and passed out in the wrong room. But I knew something was wrong. Night 5, I lost time. This part is hard to explain. I remember going to bed around midnight. I closed the door, locked it, put my phone to charge. I even remember setting my alarm for 7 a.m. Then I blinked, and it was 6:52 p.m. The next day, I was on the floor, lights off, phone dead, and I felt sick, like I had been running for hours. There was salt on my tongue. My feet were wet, my bed untouched. I went to the mirror. My neck had faint red lines across it, like rope marks. I don't know what happened in those hours. I don't want to know. Final day, the passenger list. On the last day, I tried checking out early. Went to the reception. Gave my name. The woman typed it in, frowned, typed again. "Sir, I don't see you on the list." I laughed, thought she was messing with me. Then she turned the screen so I could see it. No Jake Harper. No booking ID. No cabin 524 listed under my name. She called someone over. They looked confused too. They said maybe I got on with the wrong pass or there was a system error. But my card, my room key, my account charges, all of it disappeared. It's like I was never there. Ending the return. I came home. Didn't tell anyone. Didn't go back to work for a week. I still have dreams about that hallway. The wet pillow. Those 4 knocks. Sometimes I wake up and feel water dripping near my ear. Nothing's wet, but the smell of salt fills my room. I tried emailing the cruise company. No response. I Googled the ship's name. I found a forum. There were other posts. Other people who remember the cold, the knocking, and the time they lost. I'll never go on a cruise again. Some ships don't want to let you go. The end. Next story. The cruise that sailed without a captain. A long horror story inspired by real posts from lost passengers. You ever heard of a ship that sails forever? No crew. No destination. Just drifting. No? Good. Stay that way. Entry 1, the beginning. My name is Alina Grace. I'm 29. A graphic designer from London. This trip was a birthday gift from my older brother. A ticket for the Eclipse Voyager, a luxury cruise ship with 5 stars and barely any reviews online. He said he got it for cheap. A promotional tour, they told him. I didn't question it. I boarded from a small port in Lisbon. The crowd was thin. No banners. No music. Just fog. And silence. Even as I stood on the boarding ramp, I felt a pause, like the sea itself was holding its breath. Entry 2. No one remembers boarding. The ship was massive, beautiful, endless white hallways, grand chandeliers, but eerily quiet. I spoke to other passengers during the welcome dinner. There were only around 30 of us, all adults, no kids, no elderly. We joked about how exclusive this cruise must be, until a man, I think his name was Carter, said something strange. Does anyone actually remember getting on this ship? Laughter, nervous smiles. But as I tried to remember, I couldn't. I remember packing. I remember the taxi to the port. But the moment I stepped onto the ship, blank. Entry 3, always noon. The strangest things started happening. The sun wouldn't move. Morning, noon, evening, night, always noon. We stayed on the upper deck for hours. The sun stayed directly above us. No shadows moved. No wind. No sound of birds. Some thought it was an illusion. One guy, Victor, swore it was a simulation. But I started noticing something else. The ship didn't rock. Not even a little. No waves. No movement. As if we weren't even on water anymore. Entry 4. The crew that doesn't speak. The crew walks in patterns. Polished shoes. Stiff necks. Eyes that avoid you. If you speak to them, they nod politely, but never answer. Not really. I asked one woman for water. She handed me a glass, filled with warm, tasteless liquid, like memory diluted in syrup. I followed one of the male crew members down a hallway. He walked right into a wall and vanished. Entry 5, the captain's deck. On day 3, we tried to find the captain. But the deck was sealed with a thick iron door. No intercom. No signs of life. We banged, screamed, even tried to break the door. That's when one of the older women, Helena, said she had a dream the night before. "There's no captain," she whispered. "We're already lost. We were chosen." Entry 6, room 406. My friend Mia started acting strange. She kept hearing a voice outside her room, calling her name in a child's voice. Every night at 3:12 a.m., she showed me something. Scratches on the inside of her mirror, from behind the glass. She said, "That's not my reflection anymore." I stayed in her room that night. The voice didn't come, but I heard something far worse. Footsteps on the ceiling, pacing, waiting. Entry 7, missing passengers. By day 4, 5 people were missing. Their doors were sealed shut, names wiped from the door plates. Their belongings gone, but their voices, you could still hear faint sounds from the other side of the doors at night. Crying, whispering, and knocking. Entry 8, time loss. I woke up today with salt in my mouth. My clothes soaked. I was in the laundry room, alone, holding someone else's shoes. I checked my watch. I had lost 11 hours. My nails were broken. My feet were bruised. There were marks around my wrists, like I had been held down. The worst part? I smiled when I looked in the mirror, but I wasn't smiling. Entry 9, the door opens. Tonight, the captain's deck door creaked open on its own, just a few inches. We gathered in front of it. No one dared enter. Then Carter stepped forward, said, "We have to know." He walked in. The door slammed shut behind him. He never came back out. But we hear him now, whispering through the pipes, begging us not to follow. Final entry, the return. Only 8 of us remain. Mia's gone. So is Victor. I don't know how much longer we have. Every time someone disappears, the ship feels heavier, slower, like it's dragging itself through thick, unseen waters. I found a journal in the library, dated 1894. It describes the exact same ship, same crew, same sun, same disappearances. The last line read, "The Eclipse Voyager does not take passengers. It takes memories and leaves husks." I don't know if we're alive anymore, or trapped in some echo of the sea, but if you find this journal drifting in a bottle on any lonely shore, burn it, and never board a ship that doesn't tell you where it's going. I woke up to the feeling of pressure on my neck. Not a dream, not sleep paralysis. Fingers, cold, wet fingers. The room was pitch black, except for a sliver of hallway light sneaking through the bottom of the door. Something was written on the wall in what looked like blood. Never open 406. But I did. That night, I knew one thing. I had to get off this ship, alive or not. The lower deck, the one that was always locked, was open now. I followed the hallway down into the dark. The air smelled like rust and ocean. And then I saw them. Bodies. Dozens. Piled up like forgotten luggage. Faces twisted in fear. Clothes soaked. Some still gripping their key cards. In the far corner, a door. Faded letters read, "Emergency release." Underneath, scrawled in something red, "If you open it, don't look back." I opened it. A violent wave crashed in. Freezing. Heavy. Alive. I jumped. As the water pulled me under, I turned. Shouldn't have. Every window of the ship filled with faces. Not people. Me. Dozens of versions of me. Smiling. Crying. Screaming. The lives I would have lived if I stayed. I woke up on the shore. Chest burning. Salt on my lips. The only thing with me was the ship's diary. And a note inside. "You made it out, but not all of you." The darkest voyage. It was supposed to be the vacation of a lifetime. A luxurious cruise across the Caribbean. I had been saving for months, eager to get away from the chaos of everyday life. The ship was massive, filled with tourists from all over the world, all there to escape their troubles and unwind. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right from the moment I boarded. The first couple of days were perfect. The sun was shining, the food was amazing, and the ocean breeze was as calming as it could be. But on the third day, things started to feel off. I woke up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, after having a vivid dream of a shadowy figure standing at the foot of my bed, just staring at me. At first, I brushed it off as just a nightmare, but the feeling lingered. I told a few of the passengers I met about it, and they just laughed it off, saying it was nothing more than the result of too much sun and not enough sleep. But I couldn't shake the sensation that something or someone was watching me. One night, I went for a late walk on the deck, trying to clear my head. The ship was eerily quiet, and the moonlight reflected off the black ocean, giving everything a surreal, ghostly glow. That's when I saw him, a man, stand at the edge of the ship, staring out into the endless sea. His face was obscured in shadow, but there was something about him that made my skin crawl. I tried to walk past him, but something about his presence made me freeze in place. It was as if he knew I was there, even though he didn't turn to acknowledge me. I don't know why, but I felt compelled to speak. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice trembling. He didn't respond at first, just continued to stare out at the water. Then, after what felt like an eternity, he turned his head slowly toward me. His eyes, dark, hollow, and empty, met mine, sending a cold chill down my spine. I tried to step back, but my legs felt like they were made of stone, as though something was holding me in place. Before I could say anything else, he spoke in a low, raspy voice. "Don't look at the water. Don't go near it. It's calling for you." I was paralyzed, unable to speak or move. And then, as quickly as it appeared, he turned and walked into the shadows, disappearing into the night. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe I had imagined it. But the more I tried to ignore it, the more things started happening. Strange sounds echoed to the halls late at night. Footsteps when no one was around, whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. I could no longer shake the feeling that something was following me. One evening, I decided to investigate. I went down into the lower levels of the ship, the areas that were rarely visited. The lights were dim, and the air smelled musty. As I walked further into the ship's belly, I came across an old, rusted door that seemed out of place. It wasn't on any of the ship's official maps, and when I tried to open it, the handle wouldn't budge. But as I turned to leave, I heard something, a faint tapping on the other side of the door, followed by a low, guttural whisper that I couldn't quite understand. Suddenly, the door creaked open on its own, revealing a small, pitch-black room. I couldn't see anything in there, but I felt an overwhelming pull, as if something was beckoning me to enter. But as soon as I stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind me, and the temperature plummeted. I could hear heavy breathing in the darkness. My heart raced. I knew I had to get out, but I couldn't move, couldn't think clearly. That's when I heard again the man's voice. "I told you, the water calls to you." And then I felt a hand brush against my shoulder. I spun around, but there was no one there. Panic set in as I scrambled to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. It felt like an eternity before I finally managed to force it open, rushing out into the narrow hallway, my breath coming in short gasps. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in my room, locking the door, praying that whatever haunted that ship wouldn't find me. But the nightmares only grew worse. Each night, I saw the shadowy figure standing at the edge of the ship, watching me. The final day of the cruise arrived. I couldn't wait to get off the ship, to leave the eerie feeling behind. As I walked down the gangway to disembark, I looked back at the ship, and there, standing on the top deck, was the man. He was looking directly at me, and for the first time, I saw a faint, twisted smile curl on his lips. I didn't look back after that. I left the port, shaking, but I thought to myself that I was free from whatever had haunted that ship. But there's one thing I still can't shake, that whisper, the voice that still lingers in my mind, telling me, "The water's calling and it's coming for you." I know now that I didn't escape. It's only a matter of time before it finds me again. The Island of Whispers. Years ago, my friends and I decided to embark on an extremely unique adventure, a deserted island that didn't appear on any map. This island was an old legend, known by locals as Whispers Island. They claimed that the island concealed an ancient secret, and something terrible happened to anyone who dared to set foot on it. We were 5 friends, and we decided to spend our vacation on this island. It was far off, and we had to reach it by boat. As we boarded the boat, we were all laughing and excited, thinking we were about to embark on the best adventure of our lives. As soon as we reached the island, everything seemed strange. The sea waves were unusually silent, and as soon as we stepped onto the shore, a cold breeze greeted us. There was an eerie silence, as if this place had never been inhabited. We set up camp and prepared for the night, but something happened that shattered all our courage. We all went to sleep in our tents, but suddenly, in the middle of the night, I woke up. I looked outside, and there, on the shore, I saw a faint shadow. My vision was blurred, and I tried to focus on it for a while. The shadow was moving, as though someone was walking slowly, but there was no sound. My heart raced. I tried to wake up my friends, but no words came out of my mouth. I tried to open the door to step outside, but it was stuck, as if frozen in place. I stepped out into the night, and the shadow had now come much closer. I felt a strange weightlessness in my body, and darkness started to cloud my vision. Then, suddenly, the shadow moved toward me, and a whisper echoed in my ears. "This island is calling you." A sharp pain coursed through my body, and the shadow reached out to me. It felt like a heavy burden was pressing down on me, and I collapsed to the ground, unconscious. When I woke up, I found myself in the middle of the island, and my friends were nowhere to be seen. There was nothing around except a suffocating silence. I began running frantically, but everywhere I turned, there was only darkness and piles of rubble. Someone had once said that the island is trapped in its own realities, and now it seemed true. The more I ran, the more it felt as though the island was pulling me back. During this time, I heard the whisper again, "You've hidden their secret, and now it's your turn." I tried everything to reach the boat, but it felt as though the island was holding me back. Exhausted, I sat on a rock, and once again, the whispers began to fill my ears. Beneath a tree, the shadow stood once more, but this time its form had changed. There was a smile on its face, but it was a strange, unsettling smile, as if it was challenging me. "You understand now. The island will never let you go," it said. I felt all my strength leave me. I turned to face the back of the island, closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, the shadow was gone. I lost consciousness. When I awoke, I was back on the boat, and my friends were asking where I had been. But there was something stopping me from telling them about the experience. As I looked toward the shore, I saw the towering cliff of the island, as if they were bearing witness to the deep terror inside me. I had returned from the island, but some stories, some terrifying whispers, never fade. The Ship of Lost Souls. It was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime, an all-inclusive cruise across the Mediterranean, with luxurious amenities, breathtaking views, and endless entertainment. My friends and I had booked the vacation months in advance, excited for the escape. The ship, the Oceanic Horizon, was one of the largest and most state-of-the-art vessels in the fleet. It promised everything we wanted: luxury, adventure, and a little bit of paradise. The first few days were perfect. The ship sailed smoothly through calm waters. The sun shone bright, and we spent our time lounging by the pool, enjoying cocktails and exploring the various onboard attractions. But as night approached, an unsettling change seemed to creep over the ship. One evening, during dinner, we noticed something strange. The passengers, who had been so lively and full of energy since the start, had started to seem distant. The smiles didn't reach their eyes. The conversations were quiet, almost hushed, as if they were whispering to each other about something none of us could hear. I brushed it off as nothing, maybe the exhaustion of being at sea for a few days. But that night, things took a dark turn. At around midnight, I woke up to a soft knocking on my cabin door. It was too quiet at first, and I tried to ignore it, assuming it was just the ship's usual creaks and groans. But the knocking grew louder, 3 sharp raps followed by silence. I got out of bed, confused and a little unnerved, and opened the door. Nothing. The hallway outside was empty, and the ship seemed eerily quiet, almost too quiet. There were no sounds of footsteps, no chatter, no laughter. The air felt thick and heavy, as if the entire ship was holding its breath. The next morning, I mentioned the incident to my friends, but they laughed it off, suggesting I was just hearing things. But that wasn't the end of it. On the 3rd night, we decided to explore the ship at midnight. We made our way to the lower decks, curious about the areas we hadn't yet visited. The corridors were dimly lit, and the ship seemed to stretch on forever. As we walked, we noticed something strange. There was no one else around. The usually bustling areas were empty, and a chilling cold began to settle in the air. We eventually stumbled upon a section of the ship that seemed to be off-limits, a narrow hallway that led to an old, unmarked door. The door was slightly ajar, as if it had been waiting for us. We pushed it open, and what we saw made our blood run cold. Inside, the room was unlike any other on the ship. The walls were covered in old, faded photographs, portraits of people who looked like they had been trapped in time. Each photo was black and white, and the faces of the people stared back at us with hollow, lifeless eyes. The air was thick with mildew, and the floorboards creaked under our weight. But it wasn't the room that terrified me the most. It was the smell, a sickening, rancid odor decay, as if something had died long ago but was still rotting in the walls. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind us, trapping us inside. Panic set in as we rushed to the door, but it wouldn't budge. We were locked in. As we frantically searched for another way out, we began to hear whispers, soft and distant at first, but growing louder, more insistent. The whispers were coming from the photographs on the walls. The faces seemed to shift, their eyes moving, their mouths curling into twisted, unsettling smiles. "Get out before it's too late," the whispers hissed. We froze, fear paralyzing us as the temperature dropped even further. The air turned frigid, and suddenly, the ship seemed to groan under a strange weight, as if it were alive, as if it were watching us. We could feel the presence of something, watching us from the shadows. Without warning, a figure appeared at the far end of the room, tall, gaunt, and dressed in tattered clothing. Its face was obscured by shadows, but I could see its eyes, empty black holes, like the void itself. It moved toward us, its footsteps echoing in the silence. "We never leave," it whispered. In a blind panic, we finally managed to force the door open and sprinted back to the upper decks. The ship seemed to be alive with activity again. People laughing, walking, enjoying themselves as if nothing had happened. But as we passed them, I noticed something chilling. Their faces were blank, emotionless, and their eyes, those eyes were empty. We returned to our cabin, shaken, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I had to know what was going on. So I ventured back to the ship's records, looking for anything that might explain the strange occurrences. That's when I found it. The oceanic horizon had a dark history, a history that the cruise line had tried to bury. The ship had once been involved in a series of disappearances, and the crew members who had gone missing were never found. The ship had been involved in a collision years ago, and it was rumored that the souls of the lost passengers never left the vessel. The ship's log mentioned strange disappearances every few years, and the last entry was from just 2 weeks before our departure. And then I understood. The whispers, the shadows, the cold, the ship was cursed. The souls of those lost at sea were trapped aboard, their restless spirits haunting the ship forever. We were surrounded by the lost, and we were never going to leave.